The first step to eating wonderful salmon, guys, is we're gonna cut it right about just a simple salt brine, but you can see where the interaction happened. Best way to get this guy started, this is gonna turn out to be an amazing salmon. Hey guys, how are you? It's good to see you again. Thank you for joining me here in the backyard. I'm Mike, and today we have a wonderful salmon video for you. Salmon has been a very popular cook on YouTube, period, but also on my channel for I don't know, 8-10 months or so. People are just starting to enjoy salmon a lot more, so I wanted to bring you one of my best recipes. It's a go-to. It's hard to beat salmon in a cast iron pan. However, smoked salmon is a close second, and I do have a prior video about smoked salmon. However, I've found that some tweaks and some different things that we're gonna do to it really enhance the flavor and make this a salmon recipe that's just absolutely awesome. So let's get started. Here we go with some basic grocery store salmon. Good smell, make sure it smells fresh. The first step to eating wonderful salmon, guys, is buying great salmon. And so you want fresh salmon. The deeper the red color, the more wild it is. So if you get this pale pink color, and this one's definitely a little pale, that's more of a farm salmon. Wild salmon it's just always gonna be better than farm salmon. So let's get our salmon out and see how they did as far as packaging it. You just never know. Every seafood place or every grocery store is gonna be different. You can see where they packaged it. It's got this piece here on it. It just wasn't the best job for, when they sliced it up. So we're gonna trim this up, take it to right about, so you can see here, we're gonna cut it right about here, because that's right about where it starts getting thick. The thicker it is in the middle, the bigger the difference between the middle and the sides means the sides are gonna come out, overdone, whereas the pink is just barely gonna be right. So, you want a nice even piece, but you got to take what you can get sometimes. So this is what they had when I was there. So this is what we're going to work with. Nice sharp knife. We're going to trim this guy right where we want it. All right. Now we have a nice clean edge. And that's a nice looking piece. It's a little more than 4 ounces, I think. Next thing I always do is just kind of feel it. See if you feel any of those bones in there. And this one feels clean. So I think we're good. Put him aside. It's a really poor cut here. You don't normally see this, but it is what it is. So we just trim it up. It's just a shame we got charged for that. Again, this is very thin, so it's going to it's going to burn. So you just got to cut some of that back. Now we have 4 fairly good looking pieces of salmon. Now, normally here, I would go ahead and take some paper towels and dry off the flesh of the salmon. And the reason for that would be that I wanted to get a nice crust on it when I put it down in a frying pan. It's just like a steak. If the surface of it is wet, when you start your cooking process, you're just not going to get the greatest sear. But we're going with that smoked edition today, and it's absolutely amazing, just as amazing as the seared edition. 2 different styles. But we don't need to dry off the surface of the meat. However, we don't want to put anything else. We don't want a binder of any kind. We want to put a brine, just a simple salt brine, and let that sit on here for about 3 to 4 hours. And we're just using a little bit of salt. Nothing serious, just a little coarse salt. Just a small layer, and what the salt does is it kind of pulls the moisture out of the fish, and then once it gets it out, it pulls the moisture back in, but with the salty flavor. So it helps keep the fish moist, but it gives the fish that salty flavor all the way down to the core. Now we're going into the refrigerator. I'm gonna pull it out about an hour before I wanna cook it. And it's not gonna take long to cook. It'll take about 45 minutes or so, but however, in my experience, everything barbecued takes longer than you think it's going to. So give yourself a little bit of extra time. I want you to look real close, right at the flesh of the fish. Do you see where that moisture came out? mixed with that salt, and now it's went back in. There's no moisture in the pan. But you can see where the interaction happened right on top of the fish. Beautiful. It's 65 degrees outside. I'm gonna let this sit right here on the tabletop until I get the smoker fired up, which would take about a half an hour or so. Let me show you which smoker we're using. Guys, if you don't know about the Gravity Charcoal Series grills, man, you gotta look into them. They're not really that expensive, and it uses, you know, kind of the best of both worlds when it comes to pellet grills and, you know, traditional wood burning grill. It uses charcoal, which goes in here, and the ash bin for the charcoal is down here. So as the charcoal burns, it falls into the ash bin. And so more fresh charcoal comes down. You take these two guys out here, which block off the holes to the cooking chamber, and now air can go from the firebox into the cooking chamber. Don't forget to take those out or you won't be able to have a good fire. Got a little control panel here where you can set time and temp, and what it does is it sends a signal to the fan underneath. There's a fan that blows into the firebox, and it blows more if you need a hotter fire. It blows less if you need a cooler fire. And so it gives you the exact right temperature that you're looking for. Amazing grill. I'm using good old-fashioned Kingsford. Another little tip with the Masterbuilt Gravity Smoker is it has little dead man switches right here. So this will stop the fan if it's released. So you put that down, it pushes down on it, and then you're good to go. And there's a few of these guys. You have one on the firebox and one on the cooking chamber as well. Best way to get this guy started is with a paper towel right in this little slot with some oil on it. Push it on in there, and then you can light it from underneath. I always get the salmon with the skin on, and I think it keeps the fish more moist like that. If you get the salmon with the skin off, the juice just kind of fall right through, and you know, they're gone. You can't get those back. So I don't know the science behind it, but this is how I've produced the best results. I get the salmon with the skin on. While the grill's heating up, we got to build a little bit of flavor, and we're going to use some honey, just a couple drizzles on each fillet, not too much. And then we're going to just rub that in, kind of spread it out. You don't want it clumped together because you don't want it to burn. You just want it to caramelize as the fish is smoking. This is the spice we're going to use. And we're just going to give it a nice dusting right on top. It'll stick really well with that honey on there. Oh man, this smells wonderful. There we go, those guys are ready to go on the pit. We're keeping this salmon simple and easy. This is a during the week type of thing you can throw together without a whole lot of effort. And for that reason, we're gonna smoke it a little faster, a little harder than normal. It's called a fast, hard smoke. We're gonna go up to about 250 degrees to start. And for about a half an hour, we're gonna stay right at 250. And then we're gonna raise it up to 300 and finish it off. We're gonna take the salmon up to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. 250. I'm not sure how long it'll take. It won't take 6 hours, but that'll keep it running for 6 hours. So we'll leave it right there. Guys, don't think for a second, since this is a bit of a quicker style cook, that we're gonna lack in any flavor or quality. This is gonna turn out to be an amazing salmon. The main thing is keep an eye on the temperature of the grill as well as the temperature of the salmon. And so we're gonna keep checking that temperature of the salmon after the first half hour to make sure it doesn't get above 140. I'm willing to say most families in the United States don't eat fish twice a week, and fish sticks doesn't count. Neither does the fish sandwich at McDonald's. I think a lot of us, you know, if we're not careful, we let our expectation of fish, or the word fish, if we're gonna have fish for dinner, it becomes too generic, like the tuna fish in a can. It's really about cooking the fish properly, giving it the right flavors, cooking it the right way, finishing it at the right temperature, and producing a good quality piece of fish rather than a mass-produced piece of fish. I've let this sit for about 10 minutes. I want to eat it before it gets cold, so let's go ahead and cut into it and see what we're working with. All right, let's see what we have here. I'm just going to kind of cut across the grain here just to see what we're working with inside. All right, it's time to go ahead and get a piece. That's good. It's got so much flavor. The smokiness from the charcoal. The rub has that blackened season that just kind of, blackened salmon is the way to go. I'm telling you that they just come together magically somehow. If you smoke it like this, a little faster, a little higher than normal, normal being like 225, 250. We start at 250 with this, but we finish at 300, kind of like we do chicken. You know, you start a little lower and then you go to a higher temperature. And what it does is that higher temperature for chicken, it helps render the fat in the skin so that the skin's not chewy. Well, the higher temperature on the salmon helps crisp that outside. So you get an amazing, amazing bite. Make sure you try some of this quick, hard smoked honey salmon. It's so good.